Hi, it's Jeff Moss. Welcome to Leadership 101. I'm really excited about our guest today. It's my pleasure to introduce you to the founder and CEO of Moolah Kicks, Miss Natalie White, and she's from New York. Natalie, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm really excited to talk to you because, Natalie, I've interviewed a lot of people. So I don't think we're going to slide it past anybody. You're young. You're a Boston College graduate, and I think what you have done with this brand is incredible. I can't wait to share your story with people. So tell us a little bit about how you founded Moolah Kicks, what your drivers were, just basically the story. And I think you did this while you were at Boston College, right?
Thank you. I had the idea while I was at Boston College, and I definitely started doing all of the research when I was there, when I was a senior there. So I started Moolah Kicks when I was a senior at BC, and it was really because I was struck by an ad that had 4 WNBA players holding out sneakers that were named after NBA players. And I remember seeing this ad and thinking, first, oh my gosh, I'm realizing for the first time that women are wearing men's sneakers. And second, what are we teaching girls basketball players? Is the goal to be in the WNBA or is the goal to be in the NBA? And so as I started Moolah, the idea was really born off of that social impact of coming out with the sneaker for ourselves. But when I dug into the issue, I realized that when women are wearing sneakers fit for men, they are more at risk for knee, ankle, and leg injuries that are so common in women's basketball. So I started Moolah right there and then to be the first women's basketball performance sneaker brand. And at the time, you're saying it now, if I was even younger then. And so the amount of people looking at me and saying, okay, sure, a women's performance footwear brand. It sounds like a pretty crazy pipe dream, but I've been so grateful to see the growth that we've been able to achieve over the last 3 years. We've gone from an idea into 140 stores with our first model and our partnership with Dick's Sporting Goods. Our model was the Phantom 1. From fall 2021 to fall 2022, we came out with a new model, the NeoVolt Pro, and that expanded into 500 doors. We were joined in the category, so we were the first ones to have a women's basketball sneaker, but once we were joined in the category by Adidas, Under Armour, Nike, and Puma, we quickly became number 1 in the category, and that was really exciting. We have 2 WNBA players, we have 60 college players, we have over 115 AAU teams rocking with the sneakers, and it's been an incredible journey thus far.
So when you transitioned, because you played basketball, right? You were a point guard. Did you play it all in college, purely high school? I know you were playing on traveling teams.
I played a ton of travel ball. I still play in some of the New York City women's street leagues here. I played club ball in college.
Okay. So when you transitioned, and I've watched a lot of your interviews that you've done prior to this, you talk a lot about, forcing the female foot form into the male shoe, or what's commonly referred to as a hybrid. For you, what really was, I guess, tantamount in making sure that this shoe was perfectly designed to fit? I believe you use the number 90% of women have a similar foot form. Is that correct?
I can't say the exact percentage, but it's somewhere in that range for sure.
So when you designed the shoe, what was your goal in terms of the fit? Do you have, I believe that it's called a last, right? So you
I
had
have one.
Can you show
I can show
folks
for sure
what you did and how you got to this point?
So when you're thinking about what makes a men's versus women's shoe different on the market, it's really this inner fit here. And it's that the form of the foot, this is called the last, the LAST, and this is reflective of a foot form. And women's and men's feet, the male and the female foot, are shaped differently. There's 5 places of difference. And so I actually have a men's basketball last as well. to show that comparison. And you can see
Gracious.
that on the men's last, it's overall more boxy, and this one is more curved. And during
As
the
it should be.
manufacturing process, on the line, they pull the materials over top of this form, and then they put the outsole and the midsole on. And the very last step in the process is that they remove this form. So this is what's in every sneaker, but the very last thing gets taken out. And our last is fit specifically for the female foot form. And so it was challenging at first for consumers to understand for that same reason, right? We don't really think about the process of how something is made or why something is fitting us a certain way. But what I can say is that once players put these on, even I didn't expect the feelings that the benefits and feelings that they had from wearing shoes that fit their feet. We knew that wearing equipment that's fit for you decreases your risk of injury. So we knew that going in. But when you actually put on a shoe that is fit for your foot, we stop having a lot of the problems that we thought were just inherent to wearing basketball shoes. And some of those would be the burning on the bottom of your feet, your toes hitting the top of your shoes, and there being a general quote unquote break-in period for those sneakers. When girls put our shoes on, they say, oh my gosh, I'm ready to play in a game right now. I don't need to break them in. But what they're really saying is, I had been wearing shoes that weren't fit for my foot shape, and now I'm putting ones on that fit like a glove.
So I guess for the young ladies or the ladies basketball players whose foot doesn't fit your shoe, they would still just simply go back, I guess, to what's been working for them. But the vast majority of them, you have found their foot will fit the Moolah Kick, and it's enhancing their performance. I'm curious, from your experience, having played in the male shoe, the hybrid, and the Moolah Kick, what did it do for your game, and what has it done for the game of basketball?
So first, I'd say there's actually no hybrid. The unisex shoes that are on the market are made with the male foot form. And it means they're made for men, marketed to all. And that they fit the very same, they're made the same way as every other shoe, except for ones that are fit specifically for women. And that's an important differentiation, because from a merchandising standpoint, it looks like three completely different categories. It looks like men's, unisex, and women's, but really it's not. And also there's a lot of brands that are putting stuff in the women's category marketed to women that are physically fit for men on the inside.
That's interesting, because I would think, I'll use the analogy. Some folks think that NASCAR, and I must admit, I was one of them. I thought the guy that won the race was the one that was crazy enough to drive the fastest around the track. And back in my past, when I worked at Pfizer and I was involved with the Viagra marketing team, we had a NASCAR car. And one of the things I had to do was tool around with Mark Martin a little bit as he was driving the car. And I had no idea how smart these people were. But the one thing that really came out is how they make adjustments, going around the track, door to door, 200 miles an hour. And most of those adjustments have to do with the traction of the car on the track. And I began to realize that the foundation, for an athlete, the foundation for a NASCAR driver is the kick, the shoe, the tire. And the hotter the tires get, the more malleable they get, the more slick they get. And I'm sure that's where a lot of injuries come for court type play. So how has the Moolah Kick affected the performance of athletes that are actually wearing them and playing ball with them?
Well, there's no question it improves it, right? Because they put these shoes on, and not only is it helping in the future and reducing future risk of injury, but it's serving as a band-aid to those previous issues, right? A solution to those previous issues that they were facing in their shoes that they didn't even realize were issues that we just accept. We just accept that our feet burn and there's this long break-in period and it feels so good after practice to take your shoes off. That's really not normal. And in Moolah Kicks, we see that players are fresher for longer. They report feeling better all game because they're not thinking about, okay, my feet hurt, my feet are on fire. They can just completely focus on let them get their game speak for themselves and not worry about how that footwear is affecting it.
What do you think? I think I understand from, again, watching previous videos and meeting with you. You see this as an opportunity to support and help women athletes across the globe. What is your vision in that regard, and why is that so important to you?
I think that's one of the most important things that we're doing, and it's all hand in hand. I think that so often people see women's sports as charity and that they should feel good about it. That there's this like quote unquote feel good component, and there's not. I think we've graduated from that for so long as women's athletes. We've kind of looked to the men's sport to provide a baseline or a goal of what we should look like and be like. And it's been really exciting because Moolah is an opportunity to take women's basketball out of the shadows of men's basketball by dropping that comparison. And we are the only company who's solely focused on women's basketball. We're the only company that there's not a men's arm. We're not owned by a men's company. We are solely focused on women's basketball. And the beauty of that is that it's not either or. It's not something to be compared against. We're not legitimate, dependent on how much we make versus how much men make. Moolah Kicks, we are staying and creating a lane for women's basketball where we can create an ecosystem that players purchase our shoes, not for any other reason because it's improving their performance. And when they do it, the money that they've spent on that shoe is going to go back into women's basketball because it's going back into this firm. And when you buy from a big brand, right, they cover a ton of sports, a ton of different initiatives. Moolah, the only thing we're doing is women's basketball. And the way that we're doing it is unapologetic and in a way that you shouldn't feel good about. Rather, we're showing people why women's basketball is awesome. If they want to be a part of it, we're happy to have them. And if they don't, it's no problem because we're solely focused on the people who are here already in women's hoops.
So you're inspiring. I never mentioned my daughter-in-law. I've talked to you a number of times. I've never mentioned my daughter-in-law to you. I'll get emotional. She is married to my son, obviously, but you remind me of her because of the drive, the determination. She is a former Army officer, and she was an explosive ordnance disposal officer. If you can imagine that.
Wow.
My daughter-in-law wore combat boots and diffused bombs. She operated in Africa with special forces guys, and now she's in law school. Real proud of her, real proud of her. So that tells you a little bit about me and why I'm so driven about this. I've said my entire life that, that helicopter behind you that I flew, or behind me, hydraulics is a great equalizer. I've flown with so many women that were better pilots than me, so many women that inspired me. You're not missing that at all. To have done what you've done at this point in your life and to have the guts to step out there and sign the front of the check is impressive. Where do you see your company going over the next year? What do you want to see happen with Moolah Kicks?
Well, of course, we're expanding and we're getting on more feet, more shoes, more feet. That's the goal. But it's also really exciting. We're building out a community champion program, and we're really happy to be bringing you on as a consultant and help us start to oversee some of the community initiatives and some of our training programs. And so I think continuing to strengthen our team here, the corporate team at Moolah Kicks, and allowing that to power the strength and connection that we have to our consumers and to sharing our message to these players is so important. Because as you know, having our clear message, when players hear it, they love it. But as a small brand, it can be challenging to get your message out there.
Well, I am thrilled to be part of your team. I'm excited to be working with you and everyone up in New York and with Moolah Kicks, and excited for what the future holds. I guess we have let the cat out of the bag that I am part of Moolah now. And, in developing this community, everything's local. So the grassroots efforts of marketing, that's where it is. There's a lot of things that you can do, but I believe with Moolah, it's all about close and personal reaching out and touching folks, getting them an experience with the shoe. This brand's now in 500 Dick's Sporting Goods stores across the
Yeah.
country. The 2023 version of the shoe is currently on the shelf, so people can get it there. They can order it online. What else can they do to learn more about your brand and Moolah Kicks?
I'd say go on our website, go on moolahkicks.com, check us out on social media. We're on everything. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, and continue to, when you go to women's basketball games, check it out, see who's wearing Moolah, and if they're not, tell them about it. I'm sure they'll be really excited.
Well, I'm excited to be here. I've enjoyed this time with you. I'm glad that we've made this announcement. I'm looking forward to great things. So over the last few weeks, I have had a number of meetings with Natalie, and we've talked about the vision, mission, and purpose of Moolah. And presently, I'm working with her on a development program to roll out more champions across the United States, more interactions with Dick's Sporting Goods sales associates, and getting this story out about this Moolah brand. So Natalie, thank you for joining us today on Leadership 101. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff.
All right. So